Hi there, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the final video in the restoration of this Grundig 2140. This one is the one that I wasn't sure that I was going to go ahead and show the final video, but I found a few reasons to do so, and unfortunately they're not positive. The era when this thing was built, it was already in the 60s, and that's when cost cutting became quite a major issue, and you can actually see it on here. This particular one, when I go through it and when I went through it and started dismantling it, I started seeing signs of changing the way they used to do things. You know, the attention that went into the cabinet. There are things that are good, but there are things that certainly stand out as, well, economics. And it seems that at this stage, the accountants were telling the engineers what to do and what not to do. But anyway, I decided to go ahead because I wanted to show you a few of the techniques that I use to restore a cabinet. There's a lot of detail. This thing is incredibly time consuming, but I hope that I've managed to make this at least interesting and informative for you. So if you enjoy this sort of thing, stick around and enjoy the video. Before I carry on, I want to thank the sponsor of the video, PCBWay. You can find them on PCBWay.com. To date, I've been a user mainly of their simple two-sided PCBs. However, the range of services they offer is really comprehensive, and you can find just about anything you need for your production. They've got advanced PCBs where you can get a quote right on the channel, flex PCBs, which I've been tempted lately to look into and try. And of course, something that really interests me is the CNC machining and 3D printing that they offer as well. Again, you can get your quote directly from the channel before you order. So whatever your requirements are, go to their website and I'm sure you'll find something for your needs. Let's get started. We've got the entire cabinet, including the back. That back looks pretty good. A bit of heat damage on there, but that's quite usual. Other than that, this thing looks quite amazing. The shine is actually still on there, and I don't see any obvious damage on the cabinet itself. On the outside at least. On the inside you can see a little bit of damage with that foil antenna. So let's start dismantling this thing. And the first thing that's going to come out is that antenna connector, which was connected to those foil bits, but is now broken off. Now comes the tricky part. And this is where this guy caught me unawares. The screws on there that hold the entire front plate to the cabinet are very, very difficult to get hold of. I had to try various tools, finally found one that managed to get those nuts out. This is not usual. In this particular case, you've got to take the panel with the speaker and the grill out first. That in itself is not unusual, but these screws, as I said, were quite a challenge. We finally got that off. Now it's time to get it out. Be careful not to tear the foil antenna on the side. And put it aside and make sure you collect all the little bits of hardware. You're going to need them all later. That's usually a challenge, trying to find screws and clips and everything else. But anyway, we've done that. Okay, now it's time to actually remove that frame. You know, that cream border on the front. And this is where things are a little bit difficult. There are 3 screws on there. Usually there are screws all the way around that panel. You just unscrew them and they come out. Now in this particular case, it seems that Grundig was already on major cost-cutting spree, and they put 3 screws at the bottom, but they actually glued this thing in place, and it's a bit of a disappointment. They've glued little wedges of wood, and I'm going to have to somehow break them or loosen them. We'll see. First, I'll get those screws out. You've got to be careful because this frame is a plastic. It's very, very brittle. Obviously, it's very, very old. So when you do this, when you work with this section, you've got to be incredibly careful. These things are delicate. And the last thing you want is to crack this thing. It's looking very good. It's in perfect shape. So don't mess it up. Now we can lift the front, the bottom, and we see that they're actually not stuck to the panel itself. They just fitted under that ridge made by the wedges, which is a relief. Okay, and a couple of wedges are actually broken, but not a problem. Now let's look at this thing. There's nothing broken, it's just dirty. That's good news for us. We're good to go. What do we have inside? Nothing new. Again, that messed up foil antenna at the top, which should be easy to repair. I just removed these grommets. They look pretty ratty. We can always just replace them with new ones. And I'll remove those washers from the bottom. They usually have a bit of rust on them, so I might need to de-rust them. But essentially, I'm removing them because I don't want to lose them. If you leave them on there, they sometimes just pop off and you have no idea where to find the bloody thing. Then the feet. Those two feet come off. Again, I normally put the screw back on so I don't end up having a problem trying to match screws and holes. And we're good. We've got a bare cabinet now, or as bare as it's going to be. And here's the result. We've got the panel with the speaker and the grill on it. I've removed the speaker already. We've got this foam thingy in the bottom of the speaker panel, which is completely dried off. Now that, yeah, okay. I'll just scrape it off and replace it later. This definitely can't stay on there. You can see the foam is just completely rotted away. But if you get behind there with a sharp edge, you can just cut the tape that was tape originally with foam on it. So you can peel it off and then do the final cleanup. Okay. All that foam is off, and now it's time to loosen that brass strip from the panel. There are a few of these, what is this, like staples on the edge. I'll remove them and reuse them if I can. Some are tougher to get out than others. You need to be careful. You don't want to tear that thing or break it. There they go. We're good to go. Well, there's our panel. The grill cloth's got a few stains on there. I'm not sure just how much of that's going to be able to come out, but we'll try. I also noticed that the actual emblem, which usually has a protrusion, a little wire going through to the back, and it bends over, and that's what holds it. I noticed it's not the case here. Again, cost cutting in action. The speakers come with the usual foam that's just basically rotted away. Very easy to remove. This was glued on, and by this time all the foam is just degraded to the point where you can literally just brush it off. I use a brush it off. Be careful you don't damage the center of the speaker. You don't want to damage the cone, but if you look at it, I'm trying to see whether there's actually a tape below, but there isn't. It seems that it's just a bead of glue that they applied around it and then stuck the foam on. So you clean it off. Then it's just a question of removing any extra bits like tape or anything else. And that's ready for another refoaming. Okay, here is the damage. I better clean this up before my wife gets home. Well, here we go. It seems that I've got everything ready to start putting it together. Looking sharp. Look at this. This cabinet needed very little. All I did was some polish, a bit of elbow grease, and it came out perfectly. There are absolutely no chips on there. And the whole thing just, it's great. It's great. I'm talking about the outside, obviously. Let's take a closer look and see what we need to do. This part is incredibly important. Get one of your wife's magazines, or your own, depending what your tastes are. And let's get ready to fix a part that is damaged. I removed the antenna connector from here. That's already been glued in, as has the parts of this antenna that were loose. That was all glued in place. Now I'm going to add a bit of aluminium sticky tape strip on here that comes up to here so that it makes contact with the antenna. I'll just use some of this tape. Now I need to cut it, that width. That's long enough just to go over the top, come down and come here, and the same on the side. And this is where your wife's magazine comes in. We've got one. There's one thing you've got to be careful with, and that is this underside of the aluminium tape. Because it's got glue, it sometimes doesn't make a good contact to that. So we'll bend it over, but let's start on that end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this over. Just leave a little bit of a length here that's actually doubled back. What we need to do is check for continuity. If you put the multimeter on here, you'll check continuity, continuity. Good, that one's done. So is that one. Okay, so we'll just trim this, neaten it up, and we're good to go. That's done. Put that aside. Let's work on this guy. Now, this did not come out perfectly. There are still some stains on there, but you know what? I can't do anything about them. So I'm going to leave them. And I'm just going to start mounting the hardware at the back here, the speaker and so on. However, we can do something about the logo. I've just polished it and it looks magnificent. You may recall that all the foam was removed, and I've got a solution for that. I've got a strip of foam here. I'm not sure if it's big enough. Let's see. Yeah, it's just short, but I've got another piece. So I'm going to stick that on here and we'll have that ready. This stuff comes from one of these strips. This has actually been cut already. This is from those things you buy at a hardware store to seal doors and so on. There's part of it with a self-stick section, which is about this wide, and the other part has got no self-stick. I tend to use both pieces for different reasons or different purposes, and they always come in handy. Bloody hell, that's all it needs. Well, okay. We'll accommodate it. There we go. Let that dry. Keep patting it down. Make sure it does dry. This is just about the right thickness. It could probably do with being just a little bit thicker, but it's good. It'll do. Right, time to get this in here. Right, speakers in. What else do we need to do? We've got this guy. And this guy goes on here. Should have put that in before the speaker, but never mind. It's not this way around, is it? It's this way around. Yes, this way around. Now I'm going to use those same rivets or nails that they used. I've got them here. And I'm going to try and use them again. I can't do this on camera. Excuse me for a moment. I had some real problems getting those rivets in, and I don't have nails that are small enough for that. So what I did is I glued it, and I'll leave this here for a while so it can stick. There's a nice surface there, should be okay. When this thing goes into the cabinet, it actually holds, the pressure holds it in place anyway, but we'll leave that for now. I've got a confession to make. I get bored very easily, and I was getting bored with doing this assembly step by half step, so I went ahead and just got it done. I put another bit of foam on that end there. If you remember, I had to scrape the old one off, cleaned up all the screws, got it back, put it back in the cabinet, and we're good. I even polished the feet. I don't get bored doing stuff. I just sometimes forget to stop to film each step, and I'm sure you'll thank me for it because you're probably pretty sick of watching someone putting together a cabinet. Let's look at the front. Nothing new here. It's just all done. We can still see those marks on there. There's something I want to try, and that is fabric paint. There's actually a paint you can get that you paint cloth. Now, if this one was in worse shape, I'd probably have to replace it with something, but it's not bad at all. It's just got that, yeah, I guess it just looks like it's, 60-something years old. So, time to get the radio or the chassis back into the cabinet and test it out. Okay, time to test this guy. Plugged it in, got the mini whip on. Let's see what we get on medium wave.
وقرق المنطقة بالمستوطنين لكن حل الشيء الحقيقة هاي.
This is from North Africa.
آلة القمع وآلة الأمن في العيون والداخل وفي السماء.
This is Canary Islands.
الحياة غير الحياة التي كان يحياها.
Okay, let me just tell you what this is. Most of the stations here will either be North Africa, sort of the Morocco area, or Canary Islands, because in Madeira we have exactly one medium wave station and it's somewhere up here. So
un equipo muy blandito. Nos han metido los 3 goles cuando estamos repletos. Para los maricones y para maricones. Intenta fichar algo, pero nos pide paso de nuevo.
Han quedado sus opiniones, aclarado esto último que nos ha escrito Fran Bell y
después de la iglesia sobre la homosexualidad. Y luego encuentras a personas que sí, que lo tienen muy claro, ¿no? Y en el documental, pues... En este caso hablo de mí, no de la maternidad, porque al final... su hermandad que más participaba, que más, digamos, renombre tenía dentro del mundo cofrade sevillano, más crítica era con la iglesia, y eso nos llamó mucho la atención. Parece que dentro de las...
actually, I was wrong. The Madeiran station is up here at 1530. That's it. That's the only AM station we have. Now, that is amazing. This thing is completely chock-a-block with stations. Let's try long wave. I think this is Morocco.
You know, you are effectively putting in part of any kind of...
This is at about 198 kilohertz, so this is BBC4.
There are other ways of making money
from the south of England.
by taking a risk and participating in the economic...
This is amazing. I'm on the island of Madeira, if you don't know, so this is amazing. Shortwave. This is the bottom of the band, 6 point something. This is a 49 meter band. .41 meter band. This is 31 meter band. Shouldn't get anything up here. This is nearly 14 megahertz. Shouldn't be receiving anything at this time of night, but we are. So you get an idea. Let's try FM. Just got to change the antenna at the back. Let's see what we've got.
capacidade, apesar de, volto a dizer, numa outra situação que foi trabalhar, e estou-me a lembrar de uma subida coletiva do Vitória, onde o Diogo de primeira mete a bola nas costas e Meri tem uma ocasião de gol.
FM isn't as great as some of the others. One of the stations I normally pick up very well on 90. Sorry, it's here.
Colombo e Maré, mas não são perante a eficiência da deslealdade que nos mostra.
João Mário, podemos ter feito mais.
What have I got to say about this? Well, long wave, incredibly sensitive. In fact, all the AM bands incredibly sensitive. There's one comment about the shortwave, and that is that the tuning is difficult. There is no fine tuning. There's no KW looper, as some of them have, which is the extension of the basically a fine tuning control. So you've got to get very precise, because there are a lot of stations right next to each other, and there's a lot of stuff on tonight. I don't know why. This is incredibly active tonight. FM, quite honestly, I'm a little disappointed. That one there I pick up very well. I should pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 very well. I'm not too happy about these guys. This one seems to be okay. It's music, I can't play it, but I think maybe the tube is a little bit worn. I'm waiting for some ECC 85s, as usual. It's difficult to get these things. I've run out. So when those arrive, I'm sure that I'm going to change the ECC 85 and maybe just tweak the IF alignment on the front end, because it can make a difference. And that basically is it. So once again, we come to the end of another project. And this one, as I said, little guy, I do like them. I do notice that this one it had reached that stage, or started during that era when cost cutting was already an issue. Some of the details, some of the cabinet details are not as high quality as I'm used to on the older sets. It's a shame, but of course, we all know what happened after the 60s. It just went to plastic and rubbish. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all. This is a nice little receiver. I do have to do something about that tube on the FM, because it's just not quite what I'm used to. I really don't want to compromise. And it's once again time for me to sign off on a project. I hope you've learned something. I certainly learned a few things along the way. And if you have enjoyed this, click like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. Just a big thank you to you guys. I reached 18,000 subscribers this weekend, which is amazing, really amazing for me. Thank you. I'm humbled. And if you do like this, click like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you again soon for a new project. Thanks for watching. Bye for now, and stay safe.